We fight just like an army, an army, an army, an army. We march just like an army, an army, an army.
Hey, what is going on, everyone? It's me, Mr. Mario, and welcome to this little series that I've been wanting to do for a bit. Now, I wanted to come on screen for this, really talk, voice to voice with all of this, but really get on screen, because I felt like, this would have been boring if I put up diagrams, and it wouldn't really have been justified if I put up gameplay footage. So I wanted to show some things, I wanted to get on camera, and I figured we'd be good to go, and, I figured people wouldn't mind that too much. So this new series, Gaming Goofs, what am I covering? Well, I've been wanting to do this for a while, and next gen is right around the corner, so that is why I'm doing it now. What I'm doing is I'm going to be dissecting, in my opinion, the three big companies, so Microsoft, Sony, Nintendo, what they really did wrong, this generation, even maybe going back a previous generation, and what they're doing wrong or what they should be doing right with this coming generation of systems coming out. The Wii U's already out, and I'm going to be covering Nintendo later, but, first off, I figured I'd like to cover Microsoft, just because I've worked with the Xbox the most. We all know what I do on here. I do mod videos and all that. I take them apart, in my sleep I can do something like that, and for me it's the most fun system to work on out of all three this generation. So I have worked on all three, thankfully, and I'm really providing, I'm going to be covering this from not only a technical standpoint, but also from a consumer standpoint and just from a common sense thing. So I'm trying to blend the two for people who not only want to be technical with their systems, but people who, just purchase their systems and just want to play something or use it as a media center, anything like that. Before I officially get into this, I just want to throw a plug in here really and say thank you to everyone who watched my previous video. If you don't know, my previous video is called Best Buy, the Center of Incompetence. I have never filed a complaint on a store before. That is how mad I was about the situation. In case you don't know, I went into Best Buy with some friends about a week ago. They gave us completely false information, and the employees didn't know what they were doing, and I was just fed up with it, and I called up Best Buy. I complained about it, and honestly, I was shocked at how much people really enjoyed it. I did not think it was going to do that well, but people have really enjoyed it, so, I'll keep pushing out good content. If people want stuff like that, sure, but one thing I was kind of afraid of was I was thinking that people might listen in on it, and the first minute they'd expect it to be a prank call, but I was not doing a prank call. That was all legitimate. So, before I start that as well, just finishing that off, I did end up getting a Chromecast. These things are great, and some friends got them as well, and they're awesome. $35, totally worth it if you can get a hold of one. So, let's go ahead and get into Gaming Goofs. So first off, last generation, the Xbox 360 was the first system to, usher in this gen. It came out in 2005, a year before the Wii and the PS3. So Microsoft had a really nice head start, but there was one problem. Microsoft really rushed this system. By that, they really didn't future-proof it. They were releasing the system as fast as they could, just so they could jump the gun. One good example? Well, let's go ahead and bring this up right here. No HDMI on the first run of systems. Now, the Wii didn't have HDMI either, but the Wii will only go up to 480p. The PS3, if you waited a year, you would have gotten HDMI on your system. But you end up getting this. Oh, and you also got another thing. You also got this monstrosity of a power brick. I'm talking the original OG 203 watt power brick, the thing that you could bash someone's head in with. You got this thing, so it had the external power brick, and honestly, I use these. These are my favorites just because they are huge, but this metal tip will work on any console, so nice feature on that. But aside from that, Microsoft gave us a rushed, bulky console to begin with. People had disk drive issues, people had the infamous, red light issues, and that was a real big downfall of Microsoft as well. People, years later, will still reference the red ring. One common thing between Sony and Xbox fanboys and such, you'll hear, all the time in arguments. Well, my system doesn't get the red ring. Well, you know what? My system doesn't stay offline for 2 months. And it's ridiculous. This stuff, it's been, fixed years ago. Like, the whole Sony thing, I'll get into that later. I don't want to give too many details, but the PSN thing, that happened. It's in the past. We know about it. The red ring, you know how many times it took us to fix the issue? It took Microsoft 5 times to fix the issue. We had the Xenon motherboard, which is what I just showed, the Zephyr motherboard, which is pretty much the same thing, except with HDMI, and then the Falcon motherboard came out, that was better. The Opus motherboard is the rarest one. That was for replacement Xenons. That's all it was for. It was pretty much a Falcon without HDMI, so it was pretty reliable. And finally, the Jasper was really where it was fixed, because honestly, how many times do you hear about a red light error happening on a Jasper? I do have a Jasper 360 over there, and it has gotten 2 red light errors. I don't remember the error codes, but I just rebooted the system and it was good. The reason why I didn't freak out was because 1, it was a Jasper, and 2, both times it was my power supply. There was one time the power went out, and there was another time my power supply just freaked out on me. So, the 3 red lights on there is really not an issue on a Jasper system. And that transitioned over to the Slims as well. Now, do the Slims have power failures, hardware failures, anything like that? Yes, they still do. Unfortunately, they still do, but Microsoft really lost a lot of money on this system. Now, it was more profitable than the Xbox, the original Xbox. The original Xbox, they actually discontinued really early because they were losing a whole bunch of money on it. That's why it was only out on the market and officially supported for, 4 years? It was created in 2000, it was released in 2001, and it ended its run in 2005, I want to say. It was something like that. When the 360 came out, that's kind of when, a system starts losing its support. So Microsoft is going to be supporting the 360 a lot more, because we've had the Fat, we've had the Slim, now we have the Xbox 360e, all that. So Microsoft, honestly, they've done good things with sales. Really what they did pretty well was fragmentation. They've really done a good job, picking out what price points are good for what plan, what you need with your system, what you want with your system. So you got so many varieties out there, even the type of systems you want. But aside from that, they just had so many issues with the red light errors. I mean, as I said, it took us how many motherboards to fix this? 5. That's what I'm counting right now. 5 motherboards. We didn't get this fixed until the Jasper. And even then, I've still heard of more Slims red lighting than Jasper's red lighting, so I really don't know. Now, I really don't want to linger on the red light issue for too long, because that's really been beaten to death. It's like beating a dead horse. It really is. It's like it's in the past. Hopefully, we're going to keep it there, and the Fats are discontinued now. But then the security with Xbox Live and just the Xbox itself, that was a whole nother thing that was goofed up on. The 360, honestly, I enjoy modding the system. I enjoy hacking it up, whatever you want to call it, and it is so wide open with hacking. That's what I love about it. Now, yes, there is the malicious type of modding where, you go online and you screw with people's ranks and all that. And there's the type, that's offline, whether it be, flashing your system's DVD drive to an r-jtag exploit, going all out with, let's say, a triple NAND system, anything like that. That was really one of the downfalls with the 360 as well. The Xbox, the original system, super easy to soft mod. It was insanely easy to soft mod. Every system was exploitable. You didn't even have to open it. Now, with the Xbox 360, here was the problem. First off, a few months in, drives became flashable. Now, what happened was at the end of the original Xbox's life cycle, some modders decided to check out the DVD drive's firmware, and rather than, installing a mod chip or doing a complete soft mod, they decided that they could just flash the DVD drive's firmware. And I believe it was Hitachi's. I believe the original Xbox did have Hitachi drives in it. So when the 360 came out, they said, okay, you know what, we're going to jump ship. We're going to go over to the 360, see what's going on with that since we conquered the original Xbox. Within a few months, they had a backup of Project Gotham Racing 3 booting up on a retail system, and they just flashed the drive. In short, the person that did it, it wasn't C4EVA. He wasn't the one who released the firmware, but he said, we checked it out, our system had a Hitachi drive, and there was one thing that was strange. The drive's firmware was not properly signed. They didn't properly sign the firmware on the drive. Again, so they were able to get in there, use a programmer, flash over a custom firmware that removed any security checks, and they were able to boot up backups like that. That was the demise of it. Then you had, the short-lived, the King Kong hypervisor exploit. Then, 7371 and below, you could JTAG your systems. After that, we had the reset glitch hack. We had the r-jtag, which was combining the two. Then even the Slims, you had reset glitch hack on there as well. They've tried, messing with the drives and all that, SPI locking them, all that stuff. I hope I said that right. But locking the drives, all that good stuff, changing up firmwares, and it just isn't enough, really. Like, they still get busted open. And then what really shocked me, in case you don't know, with the Xbox 360e, it is the same thing as modding a regular Xbox 360 Slim, except it does not have a speaker on board, so it doesn't make all the nice sounds. But it has a Light-On 16D5S, and it is the same type of motherboard. It is a revision of the Corona, which means that you can reset glitch it, and you could even, dual NAND or triple NAND it, whatever you want to do, and you can flash the drive from there. So, brand new system revision, console revision, and it's hackable right out the gates. This is where Microsoft was having a bit of their downfall. Now, mostly, of course, this was used for piracy, pirate purposes, all that stuff. But even though it is an epidemic, I would say, on the Xbox, just with consoles in general, it's not nearly as huge as on PC. Mainly due to the fact that this isn't only with the Xbox, but with consoles in general, people are afraid of, sending off their system, opening their system, voiding their warranty, getting banned. So you have a lot of people that are just completely legitimate users, and they're not going to try any of that stuff. Now getting into the software side of things with Xbox Live, one thing that really happened, I think this was in I want to say 2011, this is when this happened. The Black Ops 2, no, not Black Ops 2, Black Ops 1, excuse me, Resurrection map pack came out. In case you did not know, these were just extra zombies maps that you could buy. You paid $15 for, you play them, you're good to go. This was only available to people early if you got the special edition of Black Ops, which a few friends of mine did. Now, when it went up on the marketplace, there was all this stuff going on with, new dashboards coming out, reflashing drives, drive firmware, this whole battle between Light Touch, C4EVA, Microsoft, all that stuff. They were just trying to make the system a bit more secure. Now, this is where, shortly before this, they also implemented AP 2.5, which is short for Anti-Piracy 2.5. Now, what that means is this was not only on XGD3 games, all XGD3 games have them, but, and in case you don't know, there's XGD2 and XGD3 games. XGD3 games are still 360 games, but they have about an extra gigabyte of space allocated to them, and they have extra security on them. Now, there are 6 XGD2 games that do have Anti-Piracy 2.5 sectors on them. What you had to do for a bit if you had a flash drive, every time your dashboard was updated, you had to take your challenge file and pretty much mux that into your ISO, so when you loaded up your game, it would pass all these flags. Your system would not get flagged, and if you had the wrong data on there, you could flag your system for a ban. It was very sneaky of Microsoft, it really was, and quite a few people got banned because of that. Now we don't have to worry about it because of topology data and Light Touch 3, which is awesome, but with this Black Ops map pack, this would happen. Black Ops, one of the best-selling games on the Xbox 360, one of the top-selling games ever. So, of course, since it's a Call of Duty game, people are loyal. They're going to go out, they're going to buy the map packs, they're going to do all that stuff. So they end up buying the Resurrection map pack. Now, there was a glitch in the system, and it is still unexplained, but at random, it was accounts, it was systems, it didn't matter. If you booted up the game with the Resurrection map packs on deck and the latest tile update and all that, you could flag your system for an Anti-Piracy 2.5 violation. Which, this is how flagging works, okay? You got your system right here. Now, what ends up happening is, I'll just use my thumb. Let's say, I load up a game in my system, it passes all the flags, it's good to go. Now, if I have something that's mismatching, flag goes up on the system. System will call home to Microsoft. Guy over at Microsoft will check the system, see what the violation was, and end up, banning your system, or they can let it go. It really depends. Most of it is automated, but there are people that actually do look into the issue because there is an enforcement team. So this is pretty much what happened. I'm going to be, putting in my thoughts a little bit, but this is what I believe mostly happened. The last time there was a big ban wave was back in 2009 when iExtreme 1.6 and 1.61, all versions of iExtreme firmware at the time, which was the precursor to Light Touch firmware, became detectable online. This is also when Modern Warfare 2 came out. Lots of people were playing it early, and there was an incorrect rip. There were a few incorrect rips out there that ended up banning people, banning accounts, banning some systems, all that stuff. So this is what ends up happening with this. Lots of people got banned. It was because of piracy, of course. So the same thing happens here. all of a sudden all these systems get flagged for bans. Now, if it's like one or two, it's going to be looked into, I'm assuming. But when you got, like all these systems, just this wave of systems and accounts coming in with all these AP 2.5 violations, in general, I mean, it looks like, something leaked out. There was some exploit that was found. Something's going on. So, of course, the enforcement team really didn't look into it. They banned first and questioned later. So they banned all these people. Backlash came out. All of a sudden, people start going on message boards. My account was banned. My system was banned. What's going on? And of course, the first thing people said was, well, maybe you had something bad in your profile, marketplace theft, because this is when all this stuff was going on, with the second profile glitch and all that. Marketplace theft, anything like that, anti-piracy violations. Have you modded your system? Have you had your account on a r-jtag system? Anything like that. But most of the people, everyone said no, was the thing. Now, there were people who did have flash systems online, or modified systems, or, modified profiles of some kind. But most of these people were completely stock, and they were saying, this is ridiculous. But then, once the enforcement team looked into it, they noticed there was a pattern. All of the people that had just gotten banned at the same time had purchased the Resurrection map packs. So, therefore, I mean, pretty much, it's obvious, but I'll go ahead and say it. It was the Resurrection map pack that was causing the bans. So they end up having to go in, fix the error, and then all the people that got banned for that, their consoles got unbanned, and the systems that were tied, the accounts, that were tied to those consoles, end up getting 3 months of Xbox Live for free and 1,600 Microsoft points for free. So, not too bad for that. But it was a big epidemic, and that was one of the biggest goofs, honestly. I saw that, and I was just, it was hilarious. It really was. And I want to say, this had to be 2011. It had to be then, but just stuff like that's what's happened with it. And now we are finally, another thing related to Xbox Live, we're finally, coming to this point in time where it's actually a more secure service. Back in the original Xbox One days, you had all these modders online. Well, yeah, original Xbox days, you had these modders online. Halo 4 was prevalent with, modders, hackers, people stealing accounts and all that, phishers, spammers, anything like that. And it really transitioned into the 360 as well. You had people doing stuff like that. People were able to, jack accounts using multiple different methods online and everything. I mean, you didn't even have to, set up a phishing site or anything like that. You just had to, do a few things. I don't want to go into too much detail. I haven't done it personally, but I've seen how it's done. It's interesting, but all the methods are patched. They're all old. Now you actually have, 2-step, 3-step security on your Xbox Live accounts, which is something that really needed to happen. And there's people that have complained about it, and they said, I hate that it's going to take me 10 minutes to sign into my account when I load it onto a new console. And I just tell them, well, I know it sucks, but think about it like this. Would you rather have that security and pretty much, guarantee you won't get your account jacked unless you're really, really dumb about it? Or would you not have that security, sign in easily, and, have your account jacked and potentially never get it back? Because that was a big epidemic as well. People were getting their accounts stolen left and right, and back in the day, I remember if someone stole an account and they changed a Windows Live ID on there, your account was gone because Microsoft really couldn't help out. True story about this, though. I swear this happened. One of my good friends that I know in real life, he got his account stolen one day, and it took him 3 or 4 months to get it back, and he kept calling Xbox Live, calling them, Xbox customer support, and they were saying, we've escalated it, we've taken it to our managers, all this stuff. One day, out of complete desperation, he told me he was going to try this. I didn't think it would work, but he said, you know what, I'm going to email Bill Gates. And I said, well, yeah, you can get his email, but it's not going to get to him. He's like, you know what, I don't have my Xbox Live account, I don't know what to do anymore. He emailed Bill Gates. The next day, Xbox customer support ended up calling him back. And it could have been a coincidence, I don't know, because a few weeks prior to this, he called them up and they said, oh yeah, we have your account on hand, don't worry, we will get it back to you in your email within a few days. And, a few days turned to a few weeks. But he got his Xbox, he had Xbox customer support call him up after he sent this email about a day later, and they said, hey, sorry for the wait, we just got your account on deck. Please give us your new email. We're going to send you a few emails. First off, we're going to send you, some Xbox Live time and some Microsoft points to make up for it. We're going to send you an email on how to protect your account, and we're going to send you another email on setting up your new password and everything. So he was ecstatic about this. He got all this free stuff, and I even think they gave him, if I remember, I think this is when the Gears 3 beta was out, and they gave him access to that as well, which he demanded because he was really excited for the Gears 3 beta, and right before it came out, he ended up getting his account stolen. So he got that. He was quite happy, but, you know, now Xbox Live Enforcement Team, they are on that, but for years, it was one of those things, and I knew people personally that had stolen accounts, and they said, oh yeah, you know, all you gotta do is, you know, just set this up, and then you steal the account once you get it. The first thing you do, change the email on that, and there's no way they're gonna get it back. So I noticed this really started picking up a little bit once they ended up fixing that issue, because there were a few accounts he had and they got recovered by the original owners, even though he changed the emails on there. So that's all been said and done, thankfully. Aside from that, what else is there to cover? Well, you know, Xbox Live time has gone up. Didn't need to go up. And finally, with the actual system that I want to cover, this was the problem with the Xbox 360, at least for me, why it gets made fun of so much now. And really why this has kind of been transitioned over into the next generation with the Xbox One. The Xbox 360 originally came out as a console that was, you know, a game console. It had Xbox Live capabilities, and it could play your CDs and DVDs. That was about it. With every update that came out, every dashboard update that came out, it turned more and more into a media center. Microsoft has been trying to force this down our throats, and you know, I remember the NXE dashboard. That is my favorite dashboard, but you know, they put avatars in there. Now, who cares about an avatar? Who cares about an avatar? Like, nobody pays attention to those anymore. And that was the whole thing. You could buy stuff for your avatar. You could unlock them. We had Netflix parties. Netflix got removed. Well, Netflix parties got removed. And there was a whole law in there that said, you know, it was something where you couldn't talk to people if you were watching the same broadcast or something. It was weird. And apparently that ended up getting fixed up, but Netflix parties never came back. But Netflix is one of the most popular things on the Xbox 360. It's a great app. It works well. But because there's so much use of it on there for multimedia things, that is why, you know, the Xbox 360 has slowly become more and more of an entertainment or cable box, which is even transitioning into the Xbox One. And really the best way of putting it is it's just because of the users. I can understand that it's bad, you know, all the users are using it, you know, for Hulu, Netflix, HBO, anything like that. But at the same time, personally, I use Netflix on my Xbox, and now I'm going to be using it on the Chromecast more because it's fantastic. But I was using it on the Xbox because, you know, I've had multiple systems set up, and it's a good app. It really is. Now, yes, you have to pay for Xbox Live and all that, but that's another thing. And the paywall between that, I do not like the idea of all this stuff behind a paywall. You know, to use anything like that, you have to have gold. I remember when the 360 first came out, there was gold and there were silver memberships. If you had a silver membership, the only difference was you couldn't play online. Now, if you have a silver membership, you're pretty much SOL. That's about it. You really can't do anything. So, that's about it, really. In the end, it seems like Microsoft just became a bit money hungry, and they made a few goofs here and there. And, you know, things still hit them. The red light still haunts them. You know, you got the red dot of death on the Xbox Slim. And it's just getting to the point where there's just less and less innovation with it overall. Now, I really don't know who's to blame. Could it be the users? Could it be, you know, the teams themselves? It's probably a combination of both. But that's my whole opinion, my synopsis of, you know, what Microsoft's really messed up with. How the Xbox itself has really been watered down. From, you know, a game system to an entertainment system. Still got good games on it, but, you know, it's mostly used as an entertainment system now by everyone, really. So, anyways, this is Mr. Mario signing off. Thanks for watching, everyone, and next Gaming Goofs coming soon.
We listen like an army, an army, an army, an army. My people like an army, an army, an army, an army.